how much you control. You can only control so much, right? They have a new case manager now. I know her name is Kristen Grassi, something like Kristen Grassi, I think. Anyway, so some of you, because the volume was going in, so we started up with one case manager, 2, 3, now we have 4. So just based on the first letter of your last name is who your case manager is. So don't just throw things in and don't know who your case manager is. Get to know them and you'll build a relationship with your case manager with ORG. And again, if you ever have questions with anything, sometimes you don't go to the sales rep. If it's underwriting things and you're not sure what to do with a certain case, you call and talk to your case manager, and your case manager will talk to the in-house underwriter, and they'll tell you how to handle a case or where to put your case through and so forth. So, like I said, they're really, really good.
You all learned.
Yeah, take it that way. So what we're gonna do is go back to which one are you using?
QS2.
QS2.
Difference maker.
Difference.
Yeah. No comment. No comment.
Okay. So we're going to go to ORG Corp first. So let's do, I'm going to run a few illustrations for you on how I would do certain things, and then you guys can, go ask and we'll play around with it a little bit and see how you want to handle this. But again, when we're actually going to be doing the little breakouts, whoever wants to observe wherever, then we'll fit you in spots, right? I think there's plenty of room here that we can accommodate. All right, so getting started, right? This is ORG site. Just so you guys know, this is a full review of ORG site. There's absolutely nothing here that I can tell anybody that you are looking for and they don't have, right? So we're gonna do number one. I just gave you all the ORG contact information. This is where I got it, right? You just click ORG team and you can print exactly what I gave you, okay? The next thing is resources, carrier incentive. You can find out every detail about a certain carriers that you want. Commissions, you don't need to deal with them because then that goes directly through QS2. Status is where you would click if you want to get a status in your case. So you click status, click on it. So, and I don't remember my password because I keep it in my phone, so I'm sorry. Should I click in there and see? Can I have my phone? Can I have
Where is it?
the iPhone open?
Oh, the iPhone's in black.
So this here, if you haven't registered with ORG Corp yet, right here is where you would register. Okay? So you would register right there, and it's just information you're filling in.
That's once you're licensed, right?
Only licensed people for this. This is not for anyone that is not licensed. This really is supposed to be for licensed people. Is when we started, or people in school, so at least you kind of have a good feel of it, right? So you basically are going to fill out this information and you're going to hit submit. 48 hours later, if you do not get a user, you create one set of user ID and password, like I said. If you do not get anything within 48 hours, email Billy Joe and say, I need a user ID and password, all right? And then she'll email it to you right away. If you want to copy me on it, you're welcome to copy me because she's usually really good. I mean, I'm not saying they're not good with anybody else. I'm just saying I usually get my stuff back within 24 hours. Really quickly, so if you want to, that way in case anything happens, we can follow up, right? But try it on your own and see what happens there. So now you have a user ID and password, so you're going to log in here. And I can
Can you remind everybody what this is for again?
This is for everything you do as far as life insurance is concerned, because this is our concierge company. They maintain everything for us, our entire database as far as your clients and so forth. They maintain everything. So this is information that you try to go to the underwriter, your approval, your policies, getting approved conditions in your policy. It's been mailed out to you, you've delivered it, you've closed the case. I mean, there's a tracking 1, 2, 3. And then after this, I'm gonna go through the QS2 site and make sure you guys are all entering your cases, because I know for sure many people are not finishing up the process. You might enter it one time that you've got a case for QS2, you put in your case, and then you don't touch it again. And you know, that's how the company's tracking everything. Now, like I said yesterday, you can't do, the only thing it doesn't accept right now are medical, right? Health insurance. Other than that, you can track almost everything on the system. Yes. Everything is tracked except for the health insurance.
But is there a place where the healthcare is tracked? Is that on the website?
No, you know, they're trying to get something developed, but basically you have to track your own cases, and when you track your cases, keep an email, and then the way they have it done now is when you submit a case and it's been approved, you will get an email coming back from HII, or somebody, you'll get an email coming back from the case has been approved, accepted, blah, blah, blah. And then that's your key to go contact the client and thank them for their business, and if you're licensed, maybe you can go in there and ask them, how their transaction went, and then that might be another way of getting in there to go do something else for them, right? Because if they're buying, it means it's got to be good, right? And let me just. The only thing is I'm fearful of is sometimes on weekends, it's not my code, it's the, on weekends ORG site goes down, so you really are not able to track this stuff on weekends. Let me try that. So that's your username password, you're going in, you're going to check it, we're checking some case status now. And I would like doing this because it has information on clients. So basically, this is your back office, right? Access case status, that's where you're gonna check your case status, right? Check your licensing. If you have issues with licensing or the system don't recognize your license yet, you need to check there, and that's where you contact Billy Jones if it's a problem with their side, or if there's a problem with, like I just had somebody that did, they got a Texas license and they're trying to get their non-resident license in New York. And we've all been trying to get it done, but the bottom line is they have to call the state of New York because it's a New York problem. It's not licensing where or anybody else can help you with, right? And then check your company appointments. Remember what I'm telling you guys when you go request appointments, contact with clients, then you'll go and check company appointments. Let me just do it. I'm going to click it up really fast if I see something else. All right, so some of these are dummy ones, close. So we're going to go with, that's just the pipeline of everything that I have in the system right there. I'm going to go with another one. those are your, they're gonna open up this, I can't go into detail because it has a lot of information, right? So I don't wanna go into more detail. Check your licensing, that's your status active, expired. So, for example, this particular is California, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, which is not in this, they gotta update that one. Massachusetts, Nevada, New York, Texas. So these are just a few of them that are in there, and you don't always have to go put everything in there because it does get kind of expensive to do some of this. So we just keep going on as you can. So this is where you check and see. For example, this particular one here is Illinois. It says expired. And Texas says it's expired now, it's active. So I guess it's okay now. Basically what happens is every state, if you're getting a license, a non-resident license, everything goes by your home state, right? Then you go into NIPRA and NIPR. Those of you that don't know NIPR, you go there and you request your non-resident license for whatever states pay the state fees. Most of the time you don't have to do any more continuing education, no more education. It's just based on what is needed for your home state. And then you move on from there. You don't have to do anything else. Every state's different. Some states can take 2 weeks of review. Some states can do it within 24 hours. It just depends. And it does expire. Like, one second. Like Florida, for example, Florida never expires, but they do require you to do every 2 years CE, right? So you have to do the CE. That's why it says no date for where it says Florida. It says no date. That means it never expires, but you have to do your CE. Continuing education. All right. And then the state. Non-resident expires.
Well, you have to do like me, I'm a non-resident.
You are only responsible for doing your continuing education for your home state. And after your home state, then you do, I haven't found a state that requires information from you. Most of them, when you go into renew that state it expires, when you go into renew, it'll tell you no additional CE required. Right, so it'll tell you, it's really, really good. It'll tell you what's needed there. And I wish, yes. No, I wish, I don't know if anybody here knows this. I should have asked this to Dan when he was here, but I do believe, and I'm going to check and make sure, those of you that are licensed in the state of Florida, you have people on your team that are in New York, in Florida, okay, you're licensed in New York, and you have people on your team in Florida, Virginia, and West Virginia. The last I've heard is you have to get commission, override commission. In those 3 states, you have to have a non-resident license in only those 3 states in the entire country. You can get override commission in anywhere in the country except for those 3 states. So you have to have a non-resident license in those 3 states to get override commission.
Florida, New York, and Virginia.
Florida, New York, no. Florida, Virginia, and West Virginia. All right, so I can confirm that. I'll let you guys know. I'll send a blast email.
You pay once fee for Florida and then later on you need to get the CD to your education, but you don't
only
need to
need
pay again for
renewal.
renewing.
You have to pay whatever state you want to do. Like you live in New York, you want to do business in New Jersey. You have to get a non-resident license in New Jersey. If you have, I don't know if you have downlines in Florida.
Yes, I do.
Okay. If they're licensed and they're writing business, for you to get an override commission in the state of Florida, you need to get a non-resident license in the state of Florida to get override commission. That was the last I heard, and I said I was going to ask Dan, and I totally forgot. So let me, do you know Chris? You're not sure?
The last I heard, you need a license.
Last I heard you need a license in those 3 states, so let's just make sure we know. Huh?
How much is the license?
I don't even know. So I'll confirm that for you. Hopefully after when we get a break, I'll remember and I'll ask the question. But those are the 3 states I know of. So anyway, this is licensing information, and you also get an email from ORG telling you your license is about to expire, right? So you'll see warnings. You'll get warnings. I promise you'll get a lot of warnings. National Insurance Producer Registry, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, personal contact information, view forms, regular forms, view underwriting requirements. I don't want to go into these because it has the people's information in there. So view underwriting requirements, you'll click on there and you're going to see if there's requirements for your cases and so forth. You can check one case at a time, or you can click all and just go, different situations, right? So that's the back office of ORG, right? You'll need to use your password for that. Okay. Next thing we did go through as far as life quotes, so we'll do a couple quotes here real quick. And remember I told you for the disability income yesterday, I think, or the day before Christmas talking about it, there's a whole division with ORG that deals with disability income, right? So if you need information, click on that. They have sales material, pyramid, forms, quotes. So there's an online quote that you can put in the client's information, income and so forth, and you can get pretty much a pretty close quote, right? You might have to talk to them, but you can get information there. Any special underwriting, anything that you want to learn about, you can. Then they have different critical illness policies and so forth. So there's a lot of things here. I learned a whole lot by just clicking on this and just read, my way through it.
So on the pyramid forms, are those just for disability or for any other product?
It's any of the products, but you can use theirs for when you're writing up your applications. I give you that package over here, the application package. This is what your cover sheet you're going to be submitting to. All these go back to ORG when you're submitting an application package. And then it has the agent's name, which is going to be your name, and whoever is a split agent, trading sale, you can put both names there. Client's name, insurance company you're applying to, so you put whoever, banner, whoever it is, and the state that you're writing the application in. And then you're going to do the state application again, written in, the date, pyramid company use. Like I said, you can at first I was just putting ORG to order, and I'm just letting them order it. I don't want to be bothered with it. And then it got to the point where I'm waiting for information, and I don't want to wait any longer. So we have this company here, like I said, our forms are right here, and you guys are responsible for making copies and so forth. She needs this information for her to do a proper pyramid for clients, right? What I normally do is after I do my entire application, we just created that form for everyone, by the way. But what I used to do is when I do my package and I send it to my now case manager with ORG, Kristen, I email her the application for the client. I make sure I do the boarded check, the driver's license. If they're not a resident, they're not a U.S. citizen, you got to make sure you get like a resident alien card. You got to explain these things, right? You don't want them to go back and forth, and wasting time. So if you're with a client and they're not a U.S. citizen, for example, get a copy of the green card or whatever their status, whatever the status is. It doesn't have to be a green card, but whatever it is. In some cases, you may need, if you can get a copy of a social security card, get it. Because I can tell you so many times they come back with the report and there's an issue, like a double name for the same, something with a social security number, right? So if you can just get everything one shot, that you don't have to go back and forth with the client, it's really good. That way you don't waste their time and they don't see them in conflict with the client. So you get as much as you can at the same time. So I scan and I send everything to my case manager. If you're doing an IUL policy, for example, I make sure I email them a copy of the illustration that you ran, make sure everything is signed off on, and send everything. And then the next step you do is I send the same email that I sent to ORG or my case manager. I go and I send the same thing to the pyramid company. So right then and there, pyramid's order, everything is done. Everything completely is done. All right, so you don't have to go and wait a day or 2 days. Order your pyramid immediately. And then this company is really good because they track it every day. If they're calling or leaving a message for the client, clients start calling back. You'll know on a daily basis what's going on, and it's up to you to follow up with your clients. Check off everything you send in, So in this case, instead of me now, I'm doing my own pyramids now. I'm requesting my own. So I'll put the name of the company and the phone number of the company that I'm ordering the pyramid from and send this through. So ORG now knows that they're not going to order pyramid. You've done what you're supposed to do. And if they don't get the pyramid in a week or maybe 7-10 days, they're going to send, the case manager should be sending you an email saying this is outstanding. If not, then in the back office of ORG site, we'll tell you what's outstanding.
What's the form to use so that it's only one medical?
Okay. I have it. I'll give it to you guys. Depends. It's not a specific form. It depends on the carrier. Like for example, I write a lot of combos. I write a lot of term and index, right, to make sure the client gets the coverage. So what I will do is, for example, you have to make sure you're going to do the right company. So for example, if I do American General and I do William Penn or Banner, I will see if I will make sure that when I send my pyramid request to the company, I'll say please see attached. I might have just pulled the form for American General, meaning I'm gonna have the pyramid done for for William Penn, but American General, I'm authorizing American General to use the form, or vice versa. So you can pull it down from William Penn or whoever company. It doesn't have to be the same company you're writing the policy for. You can write it from 2 different companies, which I do often. Depends where I'm getting a better deal for the client, right? So I might be doing the term from Banner, and I might do the IUL from American General.
So does ORG have a form so they can, is it ORG that gets the medical and they distribute it to the
Right,
company?
that's the next thing though. So yeah, all medical goes back to ORG and not the insurance company. I had somebody here where the forms were going to, after they order the pyramid, when the form is, when you order the pyramid, they were sending the pyramid directly to the insurance company. That's a big no-no, because what happens now is, now ORG have no control over the pyramid, only the insurance carrier does. And the bad thing with this particular agent, they even send it to the wrong company. So now how do you get the information? So now they're yelling at ORG, go get the, they have no authority. ORG at this point have no authority, so how can they go get something? And we could not get it through to the agent. I'm like, I don't know what else we could have done. We were telling them, you have to call, you and the agent, you call and you reroute that pyramid to go to the proper source, right? There's only so much we can do, and they don't, if ORG don't have authorization, there's nothing they can do about it, right? So make sure everything goes to ORG and they will get it out for us. Also, for example, if something is not looking right and the policy is not going to go through, or whatever reason happened and you decide to switch insurance companies, carriers, ORG will be able to use the pyramid within I think a 90-day period. It's on, I don't know, every company about 90 days, right? Within a 90-day period, you can use the same pyramid and you don't have to do the same, redo the lab with blood and pyramid and all that stuff.
You mentioned yesterday there were 3 pyramids that we can choose from. Which 3 are they? Where do we get the information
Right
from?
here. Pyramid companies are right here. Pyramid right here. You go to forms and you can pick whichever, and it has pyramid services.
Plus the one that you had here last night.
Yeah, I have this one here that I have. It's from the same company. It's all right. These are all the companies here that they use. We use exam 1, but don't go to exam 1 here. Use the exam 1 on the form I'm giving you, because I think these are branches that's individually owned or something like that. So, if you're going to use exam 1, use the one that we're going to give you.
She's local here.
Well, she's all over the state. I use them in Florida, California, Texas, all over the place. Even Illinois, we just have one for her. So use the one I'm giving you. I'm telling you, she's extremely good. If you have your own company, you can use it forever. By all means, go ahead and do it. We just want it done, right? So you can pick any of these companies if you want to do it. My recommendation is, if you're going to go and pick one of these companies, let ORG pick it and just, let them just do the work, right? So that's that. I'm going to show you just one more thing here. Now, any of you that are in school and you're trying to really understand this thing, here is a training center that is ORG has, and I'm telling you, I think this is extremely, extremely good. You go to training center and you go to webinar. Archive, these are all archive webinars, and they have weekly webinars. Let me see if we have it. Okay, these are live, these are daily training that they have. So for example, Wednesday they had a January training, they had another one, it just, you check the dates, there's different training, and it changes often. So today's only the beginning of the month, so you might look next week or 2 weeks, and they might have other classes added to this, right? So you're all welcome to go in here and listen and watch the webinar and learn about the products, right? The other thing right here, you go back to training center and you go to webinars again. And then you click archive webinars, and I'm telling you, they're not, well, I don't think they're long at least. 20-minute videos, and you can watch everything about policies and how, which products you like and so forth. So loads and loads of stuff there. You can go and watch this and you'll learn about it, right? All right, so I think that's all I have to show you there. Submitting business and so forth. Submitting business is the same form I just gave you guys. This cover sheet, that cover sheet, that's where I got the form from, right? So it's all there. You can go print your own and do what you want to do with it. We're gonna go ahead and run a couple illustrations and yes. It allows you to put it. Yeah, it allows you to put it. And that only matters if you're gonna go like Rocky goes from state to state to state, so he's able to like business wherever he goes. So that's the only reason. But the other one, if you're not traveling, it's great to put them all up there, but if you're not traveling, then you just wanna make sure you've got a team in those three states, you wanna make sure you get your information in there. Yeah. How would you do the life insurance policy by mail? The life insurance policy by mail? You don't have to be face to face. I mean, I understand you can mail certain things to a client or fax certain things. Well, not what. I didn't know that. I thought you had to be face to face with the client. Yeah, so then the state, it was written in, you're gonna put the state because it is Georgia, right? So that's fine. And then there's gonna be a spot there, you're gonna be able to just put a note there and say, it was by mail. It's not an application by mail or.
Sattie, you just don't witness the signature because you're
Oh,
not there.
okay. I thought you had to be in front of a client to write certain things, right? All right. Okay, so, let's see, but that's just non-medical, right? See how Question, I'm sorry, the question was, on this form,
For the benefit of everyone.
I'm sorry, her question was, when you're doing the cover sheet and you're sending in the application to ORG, it asks you here, insurance company applied to, and then the state application written in. And I would say put in the state, but I would say, I don't know, because I've never done one where I'm not in front of a client. What would you put?
Yes, we want to put the applications to the sign.
No, it's the state of the client.
Of the client, so Georgia, because I guess they're gonna know where the license is and so forth, right? So they would put it in Georgia, I guess, and then me personally, I would probably put a note there just to make sure that they know that I wasn't there. But then you're saying there is disclosure question to say, are you in front of the client, did you watch, did you know? So I guess you'd make your explanation there as well. I've never done that, so. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run up a few quotes here. We're gonna run the term quote, and we should probably do a couple scenarios for people. Let's see. Let's just say, Rocky gave me that scenario yesterday. We were doing one for one yesterday. So he wanted $1.5 million worth of insurance, right? That was the scenario yesterday. He's 44, I believe. His narrow say it's 45 because he did 6 months. Let's take it off, right? Male, New York. He wanted 1.5 million, right? So I can tell you that he never gave us a budget, so that's gonna be a little bit of a, we're gonna play around with numbers, I guess. I'll be honest with you, somebody like him, right, and I don't know, let's just say his goal was $1.5 million worth of insurance. I don't think, he didn't give us expenses. Like I said, this is something you can do with a real FNA. You're gonna go through a few things. But somebody with his age, right, I would want to probably protect him. Let's just assume that he has a mortgage is a 40-year mortgage. He owes $500,000 on the mortgage. He has $500,000 he owes on his mortgage, let's just say. And he has 3 kids, and the kids are, all these things you're taking into consideration. Why does he need $1.5 million worth of insurance? Because with insurance, you gotta kind of justify it. You gotta know that there's a need for insurance, or what is the needs for, right? So he has 3 kids, and the kids are, let's just say, 10, 5, and 15, right? So we want to make sure that these kids, number one, their dad's around in case something happens. There's college funds, there's whatever their needs are. So number one, we establish a couple things for one, right? And again, this is not the way you normally do it. We've established he's got a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, and he owes $500,000 for the mortgage currently, right? So we need protection for the mortgage in case something happens to Juan, right? Then he has 3 kids. Let's just say, what do you think the cost for education is?
$20,000 a year.
How much?
$20,000 a year.
So let's just say from now till whatever age they're out of the house, let's just say each kid, in case something happens to Juan today, each kid is covered for $250,000 each, right? I mean, that's what I would say. So let me have there now. We have 8. So we have 1,250,000, 1,250,000. So we have another, what? Another
2, 4, 6, 7. What's that, 50?
no, 750. We have another one, 250,000.
For a child?
250,000. Well, the wife should get something, right? So I don't think it's enough. So that's your 1.5 million, let's just say, right? So now what our goal is, Juan makes really good money and so forth, but his goal really is, he wants to save. That was his goal, he wants to save, right? But he needs protection as well. So what I would do with something like this, I would say, well, what can you afford a month? And I don't know, we're just throwing numbers here to see, right? So let's just say Juan said I could pay $1,000 a month. That's not a lot. Let's just say 1,000, he's 44 years old, he's got a lot of age catch up to do and so forth. So let's say he can afford $1,000 a month, right? But we need 1.5 million. So where I would start off with, I would start running a tournament. You're getting me how much it costs. Then I know how much money I can throw into another way. But I would always run a complete IUL first and see and give the client different options. It's not my decision. One might say, I want $1.5 million worth of insurance, right? He's 44 years old. I don't know that $1,000 is going to accomplish his goals, right? So we're going to run that to run a term to make sure, right? But my goal right now is to make sure that if I do indeed give one insurance of $1.5 million, I have to take it through 40 years to make sure that they're all complete, the whole process. So I'm going to start with 1.5 million. I know I'm not going to end up there, but let's start it off there.
Let's say you have to justify why is he $1.5 million coverage. You do that for everything, of course. But let's say, do you need to show this to the carrier?
You don't have to show anybody. Well, they will ask you, well, what is your reason? How did you determine the needs of the clients, right? So you might, depends on a lot of things. If the guy is a janitor, he makes, $50,000, or I don't know what janitors make, but say $30,000 a year. It's hard to justify that you got a mortgage of $500,000. It's hard to justify a lot of things, right? So you have to really, really sit there and prove and so forth. I can tell you one thing: if a client tells me they want $1.5 million worth, I want to know the reason. But I will always put my reason there as a client request, not much money, right? But they don't do, there's a certain amount of information that goes. If you're asking for insurance of $1.5 million, there's cutoffs with certain carriers. Certain carriers might want to run a 4506, which is a tax transcript. You got to authorize a tax transcript for them to go to the IRS and say, does this person really make this kind of money? You're not in the business of lying or writing whatever. You're in the business of satisfying the client's need and documenting it. But I will tell you, it's over $1 million. They're probably going to ask for, not every company. I know I've only seen one.
500.
some companies 500, it just depends on the company. I think American General is like $1 million. It's $1 million. Right. And it comes with all the forms for you to attach, and it gives you the information to read. So you as the agent, you need to read all this stuff before you start going to see clients and you can explain things, right? So in this case, Juan started off with $1.5 million, right? I know I'm not gonna end up there, but we're gonna have to play with numbers to see, because it's not a magic formula we have. In many cases, I can tell you instantly, I can tell you a number. This one I didn't look at, so I can't really say anything. Let's just say we're protected for 30 years, right? We did the guarantee, he looks healthy, he's gonna be able to take the medical and be fine. He looked pretty healthy to me. I don't know, I asked him, he said there's no blood, no medical, so let's just pretend no medical issues with him. And we want to give him the waiver of premium right? So we're gonna view the quotes. It costs a little bit more money, depends on the rating, depends on how they look at you. I really try not to put anything at the highest level, because then I might be overstating that I'm gonna give them this much coverage. It's almost you wanna deliver good news, but then I don't wanna throw them, if you look healthy, and you're talking about no issues, you're 40 years old, blah, blah, blah. I wanna give you the best, because I want to make sure your quote goes in. But what I don't want to do is not win the quote with you too often. I don't know if you're dealing with somebody else. You'll tell me no, but I don't know. So I'm competing for your business, but I don't want to overstate something. So I'm going to be in the middle, and I'm going to do the best I can do and tell you. Sometimes if I know that there's an issue with you, and you're telling me no, I'm going to tell you, well, here I'm going to write this, and I'm going to tell you something right now. If the underwriter makes a decision, or if the lab work comes back good or bad, they're really good, and they will adjust you whether it's for the benefit of you or not. They'll come back and tell you everything. In this case here, we've got a monthly premium, right? I calculated for monthly. We got Lincoln, we have American General, we have Principal, and then this goes on Banner, Prudential, Transamerica, Prudential. So here's your list, right? Now, me as the agent, I can tell you, and I don't want to discriminate, but I don't give my client all this information because it's a lot of information, and I don't want to confuse them, right? You're hired, you're asking me to come into your home, I'm the professional, you're asking me for my opinion, obviously, so I'm going to give you my best opinion. If you ask me about a company, then I'm going to give you an explanation about a company, but I am not going to go and say things about other companies that, where you're saying negative things about any company, right? But what I can tell you is, if a client comes and said, well, let's just say, well, why would you go with Lincoln? I've never used Lincoln. I don't really know too much about them. I would go to the underwriter and ask the underwriter in-house with American General and say, how are they with the underwriter? How are they with certain things? And the underwriters are really good. They'll tell you who you should go to and so forth, right? But first thing you want to do before you even get to Lincoln, you want to look at our preferred list, right? If they're not in our preferred list, I'm not going there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go with the carriers that we are on the preferred list with. And in this case, American General is our next one. So American General, the quote is 361, right? And I'm going to look and see if the client's diabetic, if they're this or that, or they're telling me that there's an issue, then I'm going to look at, I'm not going to go to Principal because I don't know if they're even on my list, but if they are, it's something I would look at. The next one would be Banner. I know Banner, I've done a lot of business with them, and I know what they will allow, what they won't allow in many, many cases, and I know they're very, very good where there's other companies, which I'm not going to mention the name, have declined clients, and Banner will go in and approve them with a pretty good rating. So that's basically your experience with an agent, right? So I won't go and say anything negative about any of these companies, right? Especially if I don't know that you're insisting, like for example, in New York, and I'm not being negative about this company, but I have heard so many people only New York life. Well, if I can run a quote and show you a quote, then if you want to pay for a name, that's up to you. I don't mind. I'll sell you whatever you want, right? But I'm going to give you the best quote and justify it. And next to the names of the companies, you'll see the ratings of the company. Lincoln's an A+, so you've got companies down, you've got all these other companies, you've got an A- there. You have got, American General is actually an A-, but what's the difference between that and the other one? I don't know, I've looked up, I have no issues with them. I'm still gonna go with the American General. To be honest with you, I would probably go, they're not on the list, I would probably call the underwriter and find out some information, right? The money is actually, it might be worth for me to make a call, because it's $2 there, but it might be worth it for me to make the call.
Sattie, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
For those of you guys who are gonna use your computer to do illustration at the client's home, you really don't wanna do this
No.
in the home. You'll never leave there. They'll have you go through every single option, all right? Also Lincoln might be the cheapest, let's say in this case here. But based on the client's health situation, Lincoln might not approve the case, so you want to go for the next. It's not the cheapest policy, it's the one that you can get for the client.
Right. And that's what you have to know, so you don't always, I've seen so many people look at the company that's least expensive and they come out higher at the end. So that's the other thing. Now, what you can do, right, if you're in front of a client, they're at their home, I would normally check a few things out before I get there, but just say you don't, right? Just to test it and see what happens. I would probably customize this report, right? I don't want a lot of companies. I know who my carriers that I want to use. I know our preferred list. I'm not going to customize this and say, okay, I want to pick this company, so we'll add, let's just say we're going to add New York. We'll put New York, and then we're going to put Banner. So I'm selecting that, so I'm adding that one here, right? You see it popped up there. And then I'm going to go add, you can add a few, whatever you want to do. It depends on your client, right? I'll probably just go ahead and add.
Banner.
Yeah, I'm gonna add, well, it's actually William Penn in New York, this is the New York policy I'm running, so you have to go down and take it.
Different names, banner, this, banner, that. How do you determine which one is?
You'll say, well, here, I'm gonna show you just now, I went through that just now, but I'm gonna show you how you know, right? When you pick your state and you're trying to pick a company, it won't light up because that is not the name of the company. You gotta know this, that's why we have a preferred list that says New York only carriers, so look at the New York list carriers.
But for instance, Allianz has, let's say, Elite Plus and Elite and this and that. And which one do you, when you're giving a quote, which one do you?
Field training. You don't
Okay.
know that. You don't know this. There's no way I can explain any of this stuff to everybody because I don't know everything. The only way you learn this stuff, I have to tell you, is field training. There's no way.
Okay, Sattie, let's say I want the American Generals, right? And I go on there. What's the process of giving my client just that here?
Oh.
What do I do?
But
Can you
this is
just
what
go?
I'm showing you here right now. Right now. So what I did is I customized it. Instead of picking all carriers, I'm customizing it, right? So I just customized it. I picked American General here, and I just picked William Penn, right? So I just picked those two companies, and I'm going to hit done, and then I'm going to calculate. You see right here, I customized it. Right here is customized. You pick your company, and right here, all carriers. So it'll give you all the carriers there is in the system.
And you can select it. I mean, the
So
computer's
now-
in front of you, so you're controlling the computer, so your client doesn't really have to see
Sometimes
it.
if they're sitting there, they want to see, you can only control the process. You know what I mean?
This is the line. I recommend what's the line.
I mean, look, it's your responsibility. I gave everybody that handout. You want to learn who the carriers, you want to learn their programs. If you think you want to do this, you need to go read it. I can only do so much. You need to learn about the products because I'll pull up something here with American General. You'll find 30 different products. How do you know which IUL to pick? How do you know what company does what? The only way you do this is you're going to go through field training and you're going to have to sit because clients will think of questions and they will throw things at you that I'm like, you don't even know where they get it. They're very intelligent because people go and they research things online. They don't have a clue what they're researching, but they're researching.
Right. Guys, remember this. You're sitting in the class and you're in training, but many of the things that you're going to experience, you won't be able to uncover until you're in front of that client. This stuff that we're talking about right here is done in the back office in most cases. You're not going to do this in front of the client, and you're going to have a better idea of what it is you're going to do after you go through your field training. So don't get frustrated at this point because you can't possibly fathom what the right application is at this point. You can't do that until you've done the financial needs analysis, gone through the whole process. Then you can determine which way you want to go your client as a professional in this thing. And here it's kind of difficult because we're trying to sell a product, but it's not about selling the product. It's doing the right thing through the whole process.
I'm just doing this for art so you can see a few things here, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know, like I said, I might be a little weird, but this is a lot of fun to play with. It really is. I mean, I'm not I don't sit there and do all the other gadgets, but this is where I make money and this is what I need to learn. So I spend my time and effort into this. All right, so in this case then, so I selected the two companies, right? And then you're going to view all quotes again. And only those two companies are going to show up, right? There you go. right? So only these two companies shows up, nobody needs to see anything else. Again, you're gonna do what's always best for the client, not what's best for you. That's the purpose, not what's best for you. So if you're gonna research and you know certain things about your client before you get there, you should already have a few things figured out in your head, right? So let's just say we're gonna go ahead and go with these two companies. Like I said, you don't have to go back to the ORG. Remember I showed you forms? You don't have to go back there. You put forms right here and print your forms and what you need to do with it. Or Banner has to drop tickets, you can do that. I think Dan said now American General does have in New York, app or a quick app or something like that, right? But ORG website in the back office have instructions and a little short video on how to do these things, how to submit an e-app, how to do an IGO app, whatever. They do have little 20-minute trainings there, so you can go look at that as well. So anyway, so this is basically it. You pick which one you want, you print your document, you go to the client, you sit there, fill out the application and so forth. So this is a quick one, right? Now, remember his payment here, our goal was, we're looking at numbers again, right? So his payment here annually is $361.10. It's a $1.5 million policy, right? We know we're not ending up with this, right? But this is the starting point. It's a 30-year policy I ran right now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run the index policy. Remember, I have $1,000 to play with, right? So now we're going to see what works. So I'm going to run a whole illustration for $1.5 million and see where it gets us.
So that would be the difference.
Right. And I have to make up that where we have cash available to him, I have to make up at 30 years later, the $1.5 million still has to be there 30 years later. That's your goal. That's my goal. Okay, that's what I do. Everybody have their own way, and whoever is licensed and they, have an input with this, by all means, tell me, because I do what I do. There's not a science to this. You have to know how you want to teach your client or what you're out to learn. My way, I don't make as much commission. I'll be honest with you, right? I do lose out on a lot of that, but I know one thing. Most people are not going to replace my policy. And if they do, then the other agent has got to be saying things that I don't know. Our clients have a way of twisting things when they're with one person to the next. They don't really understand it. They say things that are not really what they understand. I've heard this so many times, and then you go back and you find, explaining things. But I do try to educate my client, but I don't overwhelm them either. Oh shoot, the flex thing out. Did you ever download Java?
Sorry, why did you say that you?
It's on the bottom. What else? See it?
Okay.
What did you say, that you said you don't, sometimes don't make as much commission as you thought, but you're doing the right thing for the client?
Well, you gotta learn that. I don't wanna get into commissions and all that right now, but when you're doing IUL, there's a way it pays out. It pays out based on, and Chris might know a little bit more of this. Remember, you're selling insurance. That's your whole purpose here. You're not selling a pension plan. That's just the extra bonus the client gets and so forth. But many of these companies, you don't get paid based on the savings part of the policy. You get paid based on the insurance. There's different formulas for different companies. So that is the reason. I do it for a different reason. And I'm not telling you that I'm, an angel or anything like that. I'm just telling that many people might do it. I don't know. I'm not going to go and, try to. Yeah. What do I do here? I don't know. Allow? Alright, so with Flex Web, right, and I think we chose the American General way here, so that was 361, so let's see we're gonna see what $1,000 a month will get us, because we know that's the client's budget, right? That's what he told me, right? And he wants $1.5 $5 million worth of insurance. And let's see if it'll work. So American General, remember I told you all these products here? All right, well, I kind of tested it, and I think Chris and I went through quite a bit of this when we first got started, and we went through with ORG and so forth, and, you know, we looked at them, and I'll tell you, I personally think, and, you know, again, whoever, use whatever product you want, by all means, go ahead. I use a lot of the elite index.
So this is what I'm asking, why do you use a lot of these?
Because I researched it and I know which one, and I played with the numbers, and I saw what was good for the client. I played with my own situation, and I put in the numbers, and I saw what was good for me, and I played with a few other situations, so you learn what products are good for certain things. You want to take, you can go through your license, right? So you can go in there and play with this all day long, you know, what product it is. There's parameters with certain states. Like, for example, we were doing one of these for Massachusetts, American General, and we were doing the elite index, and we know that that particular product is not available in Massachusetts, right? So then we went with the Allianz, we looked at the Allianz, and then there is like certain numbers. So certain states are different numbers what's allowable, right? Like Allianz, I think with American General, you have to do it at $250,000 and above coverage. You can't do below that. For the state of New York, if you want to do an American General policy, you can go down to $50,000, right? So you got to learn parameters with every company. I, like I said, I pick a handful, that's all you need.
Right.
You look at the preferred list, you play with those, and you see the products. That's what, that's what I would advise, right? So he's a male, his current age is, let's just say 44, because it'll change to 45. I'm going to go down to the next level, which is preferred non-tobacco in New York, right? And most of the software, most of the things you can run from here, the only one who doesn't do a good job is Allianz over here. And you guys will all, that are licensed, I'll give you user ID and password with Allianz. But it's basically the same information you're putting in the carriers, right? You know, same exact information we're putting here is what you're putting in different software. Let's solve for something here. We're going to solve for, let's solve for premium, right? Because we know the face amount, we said it was 1.5 million. And we're going to let it go to the maximum age, everything's perfect there. Let's see what else I need to do. Don't play the things you don't want to do, you don't know about, right? Things that you know you have to put in, you do it. When you start playing with these things, I'm never right over my head, but it's okay.
Sad, and then they call you for help. What happened?
Well, that's exactly what happened.
Sattie, let me just say something here. Aaron was asking about so many products, like American General will have so many products. Your clients may have different needs. For example, one of the products we've been hearing a lot about is the Index Universal Life, where they use the index, the S&P, correct? You may have clients who may want to say, what about investments out of the country, right? There's a global product, right? Where you have diversification. You have part of it is invested in S&P, part is in the handset index, and part in the Euro 500. That gives the client a little international exposure. Depends on the sophistication of your client, then you'll know what product to choose. You call ORG and get, some suggestions. So it's based on your clients.
Transamerica's got a great global fund. I mean, it's really, really good. You're paying a higher cost for insurance, but that's a sophisticated client, then that's the place you go. But Transamerica's got a great global index policy, right? So,
But then again, you gotta be careful because if you're not like in 6 and 63, you can't be talking about too much of the investment part of it.
well, that's not an investment, that's still the insurance. It's still insurance. We're not doing an annual is insurance. We're not, it's not investing. This is the money, this is where your
This is
savings is
about the
going.
problem.
Right, this is where your money's going. No, that's the index.
There's an
But
index.
that's where your money's going is which index you're picking, right? So like American General's going with the S&P, right? Let's just say they're going with the S&P. But I do know Transamerica goes with the global IPO. So I know they go with the outside. So those are the things, but it's not investments. It's all within the policy, right? All right, so this is what you do here. I don't go around unless I know policy options, I'm gonna run it for current. And then we're gonna leave it at level. This is where starting, just to see what it's gonna be, right? This is my first start of this one. We're gonna just see where it gets us, right? I'm gonna make sure we're doing the best for the client. So I'm gonna leave it at level, I'm gonna leave it monthly payment, and then I'm gonna go to the riders, and I'm gonna put the waiver, again, that's it, nothing more. Some of these, if you guys don't know what you're doing, and you're gonna start clicking, you want a waiver of this, you want this and that, there's age limitations, so don't get frustrated, because you cannot get like certain riders based on what your current age is, right? So you just hit calculate, and then this is my starting point, right? So this is where I start to play with the numbers, and and again, make sure that the client's getting what they want. So in this case, I already know it's not gonna work, but that's me knowing this, not you guys knowing this, right? I mean, you might, but I'm not saying you don't, so. Anyway, so we got the target premium is $14,520, right? We already know this is over our budget, right? We have a budget of $1,000, right? So we already know it's not gonna work, right? So now we have a couple options. We can go to the client, because we're right here, right? We're gonna go to the client, we're gonna say, okay, well, based on the $1.5 million needs that you said you want, it's $14,000. So we're gonna either have to go and we're gonna reduce the coverage, right? We're gonna reduce it to whatever it's gonna get us to the $12,000 a year, or we're gonna go ahead and play with numbers. What is it gonna take to get us to that allowable amount that's left? So I would do now, I would subtract.
Can you split this in third insurance then?
That's what I'm doing now.
Oh.
That's exactly what I'm doing. So what is 36110 times 12?
What's that?
61 times 12.
4,042.
4,042.
Approximately.
Go line there, boy. Line there, that Barbados dollar.
It's 4,333.
It's 43, approximately 40.
So let's just say 40, let's just say 4,300, okay?
4332.
Okay, so what do we have left? We have remaining with the 12, we have.
That'd be $10.
So what I would do, right, I would start backing into numbers now, right? So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna edit this. And I'm going to calculate what insurance amount I'm gonna get for that amount, right? I'm not telling you that's what I'm gonna do, but we're backing into numbers, just sure, we're gonna solve for. And then Chris or anybody else, if you guys have a recommendation, let me know what you do. I'm just, let's just say we're gonna go for insurance. We're gonna solve for face amount, because I know what I have, how much money I have to play with here, right? So I know I have, let's just say 7,500 here. 7,500 annually. We're gonna go annual, right? Because we already kind of figured out what it was. So what I did now is I went ahead and I put how much money we have we're gonna be using annually, and we're gonna solve for insurance, because I don't know how much insurance that would take. And you'll know that it's working, don't click, and then some people like
There. Spin on the wheel. Spin on the wheel.
okay, we're spinning here, we'll just spin it. Alright, so here we go now. So remember, what you guys have got to remember is this here is about buying insurance. Don't forget it, that's what we're selling as insurance. The little part we have is the extra money savings and stuff, right? So here we are, right? This particular one, our target premium, that system is wanting to give him, we did get our $7,500 here, and that's our initial annual premium, right? I want to make sure that this is our numbers all throughout, right? I don't want to go up and down and whatever with the client. I want to make sure that it's going to cover him, whatever. So the system is giving me $1,015 worth of death benefit. At this point, I would say, let's go look at the illustration. I know it's not what I would want to do, but I'm going to look and show you a couple things here.
coming in? Is it a regular term policy or an IUL?
Yes, this is an index.
IUL. That's index without the term, yeah.
I don't like to do, I know, you know, you guys are gonna learn whatever you wanna do. I really don't like to do the term included with it because, you know, I run it both ways to see how it would work out better for the client, but I don't like to include it both in one policy. I like it separate because what happens, let's just say something happens, God forbid, they can't afford the IUL anymore, something happens there, right? And they still have money that, you know, they've accumulated, they can take their money. You would lose, and I think I'm right, you would lose the entire policy at that point, right, if you say you want to drop it. At least if they have that 30-year separate policy, they can continue and they can continue. That's the reason I like to split it out. I don't like to combine things.
So either way, if they would let them, they don't want the other one.
Right, I mean, you're running business to do everything.
I mean, there are many questions on it. There is no one way to, you know, solve a problem. It's like if you go to 10 accountants with the same information, you'll get 10 different tax returns, you know, as to the payment and whatnot. The point here is find as many field trainings as possible. Go out with that. You learn different ways of doing it, and you develop your own style along with the knowledge you gain how to best, you know, help your clients solve their problems.
Director Morgan.
Sorry, I lost So this is a whole illustration here now, and let's see what happens here, right? Remember, the system calculated the premium, if we do the calculated the face amount, because we knew what the premium was, what we have remaining. So, okay. And I don't like this one, but I'll tell you why. And again, it's my opinion, everybody here is welcome, any experience, by all means tell me what you know, what you would do different. Okay. So here's what I always do. When I'm running this and I already have the client covered for $1.5 million for 30 years, remember I told you I have to go to the 30 years to make sure that the insurance breaks. You know, 30 years, I gotta make sure that the 15 or the $1.5 million is leveled out, right? I gotta make sure the client's covered. I don't personally like it because I've got nothing really building up here, right? I like to think I see cash building up like right around here, at least, right? I like to see that the client's putting in, whatever they're putting in 10 years, I like to see them at least, and this is the non-guarantee side, right? Make sure you're understanding it, but I think I think they're pretty good as far as their judgment with the midpoint of these calculations. This guaranteed is based on 2%, and this is based on 7.64, I think. I like to see these numbers break even right here. Those are my goals, and I'm just giving you my goals. My goals are break even right here, and my goals are their monthly premiums are consistent throughout, right? I don't like to see clients go up and down, and the reason is because you get into a pattern in your life. If for some reason you're making a payment, and all of a sudden, and this is what you're calling MET and no MET, meaning you're falling out of the IRS guidelines here for the tax-free benefit. So the system, when I ran this as guideline, right? I want to make sure that my guideline is protecting me with the IRS. That's my goal for the client, right? So basically what I would do here is make sure, again, these are my goals, right? Any objections, please let me know.
Can you just kind of put this, the check mark for, just staying through the guidelines on the next?
Yeah, it's there. No, it's just run a premium guideline. They'll tell you run. These are all things you see within the illustration.
Why didn't you run, let's say, instead of 75, why didn't you run this with 12,000 to see how much insurance you could buy?
Well, because I already determined the
You did
client
turn,
needs.
but you haven't done IUL.
I did run it with a
But not
1.5.
for 12,000, you're putting on for 75.
No, there's a reason I did that. Remember, the client wants $1.5 million worth of insurance, right? So my first thing is, we already know how much insurance he wants. We calculated it based on how much premium, how much it would cost him to have $1.5 million. We already knew that was out of his budget.
That was $361 a month, but I'm saying.
No,
that-
you're getting it
Yeah,
confused. We
no,
ran
that
two.
was the term.
No, we ran two. We ran the term and we ran the IUL. The term
No,
is
but you did, what you did is you did 1.5 million for 12,000. And we
No,
knew
I
that
didn't.
was not,
No.
that was gonna, it was, came on 14.
That's not what I did.
No,
I
at the
didn't put
beginning
it-
you did that.
No,
You took out the IUL.
no, this is what I did, just so we go back, right? What I did is I ran it based on, we knew how much the client wanted, so I ran it from 1.5 million, right? I let the system calculate the premiums for me. I didn't calculate the premium. Remember, it came up to like over
14.
Right. We already know the client can't afford 14 because he told me he wants to only pay $1,000 a month for, so we did 12,000.
How much could he get for 12,000? That's what I would like to know. How much
Well,
could
it
he
doesn't
get?
matter. I don't want to do it that way because that's still not reaching his goal. He wants $1.5 million.
But it's twice.
Your goal is $1.5 million. That's what the client needs to protect his
Also,
goal.
let's stay on track, because what can happen is this. When you have a scenario and you have the numbers in mind, that's why you do the F&A. You want to stay within the guidelines of that. No hypotheticals at that time, because you know what the numbers are. If you want to know the hypothetical in a private situation, you can look those numbers up on your own. But for this, for the purpose of this, let's stay within the same framework of that goal and
Because
that scenario.
we've established a few things, right? What we established is 1.5 million, we established $1,000 a month. That's it. We've established why he wants it and what the coverage and what my goals are for the client, right? That's what you have to go with. You can play with your own scenarios when you want. I'm gonna play with a few of them so you can see. Right now, I just wanna get it, so I don't wanna confuse people too much, but we can look at that for you later, okay?
It's just based on your experience.
Right, so.
This application.
So, and I can just tell you again, this is based on what I like to do, and again, anybody, you're welcome to say whatever you need to say there. I can just, again, it's my opinion here. So, cash surrender here is 34,000, your cash accumulation value, if everything goes at least to a midpoint, is 48,000. I don't like this for my client. My goal for the client is, and I sit down and I discuss, I'm just saying, we sat down, we discussed, we want the client to have a savings, we want more money, we want to protect the family, we want to do everything, right? So I would start playing with my numbers at this point because I don't like it. What I'm telling you here, one of your things when you're looking at this, you want to be consistent with your monthly payment. If I'm paying a payment 3-4 years, $7,500, then all of a sudden I fall out of the IRS guidelines and they said, okay, no payment at age 50, no payment at age 51, and then you're gonna pick up at age 53 and start making $3,000, a different amount every here and there, right? It's almost like your pattern is, your whole, the way you're setting your program, it's broken. So what me personally, I'm gonna find something to go spend that extra money on. I don't do that, trust me, but you would go, clients would go find money to, what are you gonna spend? So next year comes around, and what happens? Now, oh my gosh, now I gotta go figure out how I'm gonna pay for the policy. This is how people lose the policies, and I don't like, that's me again. I'm gonna protect my client because I want the client for life. I don't want it just for this one transaction, right? So I wanna make sure that the client's gonna be able to do this, and hopefully lifestyle goes up, income goes up, and they can afford more and more, right? So those are my goals for my clients. I don't like it because, again, I like to see a break even right here. I don't like to keep going on and on, because remember, I'm putting in and I wanna save, I wanna get back my money, right? So, right here, I don't like this one, and I don't know, does anybody have an opinion, Chris, Mahadi, or anybody? Fine, okay. So let's go to the next one now. I don't like it, so I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna go back and play with my numbers again.
You see, when you do your F&A and you tell your client that I'm gonna go back and create some, I'll come back with some options. When you go back to the office, that's what you do. You go back and forth, you design and redesign and come back what's best to suit what the client wants to achieve.
And I think what is important is it's true, I mean, I'm not licensed there, but what the client wants is like 1.5, yeah. And then, again, what you recommend, I guess, is based on the F&A, right? But at the same time, there are options that you recommend, but knowing, I guess, what you want to recommend the product, right? If I want 2 million, and I can't really afford it, and I think that's why you go back and forth.
Correct.
And look for what's best, and that's the suitability, okay? Because I'm a little confused here, but I kind of understand what the license or what you're trying to do for your client.
So, what I did here, exactly, that's exactly what my goals was, right? So, what I'm doing here now is, I went down, because I already know, and I think now I'm going to go back and play with numbers, because he's still young, and I know he wants to still, we have $7,500, so we can do something here with, right? So I'm gonna cut it down to 500,000 now, right? And I don't know if it'll work, but well, let's see. I'm leaving everything else. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna change something, because I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna change this in a minute if it works.
That should work now.
Well, I'm gonna do increasing though, I'm not doing double. But remember what I told you? My goal is 30 years later, I wanna make sure that there's cash. I'm gonna wipe out all this, and I'm gonna make sure that client has $1.5 million.
Sadly, just before you go into the calculations, right? If you're a brand new agent in this room, it's probably gonna take you more than 5 to do training. So be it. Because you know what? If you don't do that, you stand a chance of losing that client. So understand, 50% is better than nothing.
I mean, a client putting in $1,000, this is a lot of money. You don't wanna mess around, this is money. If you're talking about a plain term policy, they're throwing in a couple $100, people are not gonna mind. But when you're talking about $1,000 of people's money, you better know what you're doing, and you better really understand this. It's a lot of liabilities there.
And so, I mean, one other thing, when it comes to our culture, guys, if you guys have been around for a little while, we're just now putting the emphasis on the financial needs analysis, going into the field training, gathering the data appropriately. So if you've been around, all you've been talking about is recruit. Now we're really getting into the meat of what our business is about, and just be a student at this point and just continue with our culture. We're up and running now like never before, but you are in the embryonic stage of something that's going to revolutionize the way that you're living. So this is the time to truly be a student and take each scenario and understand what the process. This is a process that you go through to determine what's in the client's best interest. It's not just selling a one thing. It's not a one-call close business anymore. So because you get paid maximum dollars for the results that we bring to the table, okay? So just chill your jets, listen up, okay?
Thank you, all right.
I did a couple things here just now, and again, I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna see, right? Because now I'm really starting to play with it. Before I didn't do anything much, I'm just kind of like throwing numbers for you guys to see this. I would have jumped right into this if it was just me doing it, right? So what I'm doing here, I changed two things. I changed him to $500,000 worth of insurance, and I did, instead of a level death benefit, I did an increasing death benefit. That's the only two things I changed, okay? And we're gonna calculate and see what happens.
That means insurance plus cash out.
Right, and again, my goal is 30 years, I better be able to replace that $1.5 million. And then keep going, of course. This is it.
That clarification though, Seth, I'm sorry, this is my last one. If you're doing this is really the actual one when you play this in front of the client.
I don't always know the number. You know numbers and you know your client, and you don't have to do this you're gonna have to sit there and, clients will either do one thing, they're gonna lie to you one way or the other. They're either never gonna afford anything, or they're gonna afford $1 million. And so you gotta find out where I'm telling you, that's exactly what it is, and you gotta find out where the middle number is. You've done your FNA, and I've seen people not do their FNA, and they'll ask the client some information. Now, if I know you well, and I'm gonna say, well, you don't wanna go tell me all the personal business, and if I'm gonna do a good job for you, I'm gonna do the FNA, right? But there are some people you just don't go through all that with, and the person said, I want life insurance, I wanna spend $200 a month, and I want $1 million worth of coverage, and I want an IUL, and I'm 70 years old. There's no way to do that. So you're gonna, okay, let's back it up, you can afford this, you can afford this, so you tell me what your goals are, right? So you just gotta have to understand your client and know, what you can do for them. I don't waste my time. If you're gonna play games with me, then I'm leading. I don't have the time for that. So when you're ready and you're serious, then we'll do something. All right, so again, this is my scenario, and I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see.
This one is not required.
I want my client, I want my
Minimize that. Minimize this one. The right hand corner, minimize.
This is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Go back to the bottom.
here? And lower.
I think it's the last one down.
This one?
Mid-flex.
All right. All right, Alex. Alex, give me a card, man.
So this one here, we're almost there, right? This is what I did. We did 500,000. I'm going to play with it one more time, see if I get anything better, right? So basically my goal, I'm pretty consistent with my payments. Let's make sure I'm consistent, right? $7,500 throughout. Okay. $75,000, sorry. $7,500 annually, right? Okay. So that's good there, right? My cash value, remember, my goal is like somewhere around here. So it's not exactly what I want yet, but we'll see, right? My cash right here, premium outlay, $7,500, $75,000, 10 years. I'm not really quite there at 74, right? But it's close, right? And my next one, I want to look and see what happens in 30 years. Increasing, you see where it's increasing? I started at $500,000, and it's going up and up and up, right? So let's see what happens in 30 years. All right, we still didn't make our goal yet because look at that. We may not, I don't know. Death benefit here, right? Or my death benefit here at age 74. I'm still have time, right? We still have, no, it's 30 years later. Yeah, but I put in 225,000, and you have what? Basically 443. Your death benefit is 943,000. Now, how do you kind of this is how you can mitigate some of these things, right? Your mitigating factors are 30 years later. Remember, our goal was I wanted to get to $1.5 million. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we're going to try it one more time. So your mitigating factors for the client are, we didn't get to $1.5 million, right? Because it's supposed to be 1.5 year, right? So I didn't meet that goal yet. However, 30 years later, he doesn't have a $500,000 mortgage anymore, does he? No. Right? So, okay, so I'm still down to $1,000. His kids should be growing everything out of the house. Yeah. Hopefully he still has a wife, right? Has a wife now if something happens.
Get in the 40 years later.
So he's still okay. I think I still did a good job for him here if this is where I want to stop. But this is not where I want to stop, right? I'm going to try it one more time. So let's just say we've pretty come close to establishing some good things here. No, you gotta go down. You can't go up. Because we got to save money, right? So let's see here now. I'm trying to get savings out for the client as well, right? And it kind of goes hand in hand here. So what I'm gonna do is solve for one more thing, and then,
If I be declined, I'm happy for that.
Right.
I'll work hard, yeah, I would say that.
so all I did is 400,000 there.
Saturday will be a nice one.
Rocky taught me everything I know, honestly.
Right now, she's really sacrificing that.
I'm really sacrificing my position.
She's working almost for free.
But I'm hoping to get referrals, I'm hoping to get a whole lot of
I'll give you
things,
that.
right?
Okay, second.
Okay, so this is better. Maybe let's see one more spot. All right, we're still good here, right? So now I put in 75 and 79 here. Again, this is mid, so I'm not, this is not my guarantee. So I just want to make sure you guys know this is a midpoint 7.6%, 7.64, right? So I'm still better off here because now it's 75,000 and you're at 79,000 here, right? Your cash is accumulating a little bit faster here, or zero here, right? So this is getting better. Let's see. 30 years later, and this might be our final thing here. 30 years later, you have, we went down with the death benefit, right? But we have more cash.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of, you have to go up or down. You don't really, you kind of have, you know, this is basically what you have here. There's not a whole lot more you can do here at a time. Right? So you have 225,000 you basically put into the policy. You have a death benefit of 886,000, and you got the cash of 486. Now remember, you will get both of these.
Right.
Right? Okay, so we're all clear with that. All right?
Can you go down to the bottom of the page and see where it ends on, if that person lived to be 121?
All right, if, now this is what people, I need to make sure I understand. If the worst case scenario happens here, and we're only at 2% and that's all they are throughout the time, then you basically run out of your insurance around here, right? But honestly, I can't even see that that happens. So you basically, your money's going very, very fast if we have this scenario to go with, right? And that's what our hopes are. So if you're going to go to age 40 years later, you've got $1.3 million death benefit or $921,000 in cash. That's the goal, and I think that's what we will do.
Let's say, what I would like to do is, I start off and at age 65, I want to stop paying.
You can do that.
Because right now, some people say, hey, look at Gene, you're only paying up to age 100.
Well, that's where you go into calculations, and that's where you go in and you're going to manipulate it.
I
You're
know, I
going to
know.
say, right, we can do that a
I
little
just want to
bit.
explain it now.
Right, you can do this, you can pay, I mean, right now, I don't know if you guys saw that one, I thought it was a great, great policy for a newborn with Allianz, recently. That was extremely good. I mean, you can basically, what you pay up to age 18, you get $10,000 a year for college for 4 years, and then at age 30, they give you $80,000 for a house, and at age 60 or whatever age that is, you can retire with a pretty good amount of money.
At age 44, you can get $1 million.
For 200, is it $200 a month? $200 a month. I mean, those are really, really good numbers. So
Sign me up.
I've been asking you to sign me up. Here's my appointment this afternoon. All right, so I'm not.
Okay, let me just run up there. One more. So, let's go back to